Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a truly monumental event in industrial history. We're looking at how a single, seemingly minor missing valve literally changed global occupational safety forever. It's a powerful story about the fragility of human systems, the immense power of the environments we work in, and the really profound lessons that can only come from catastrophic failure.
Let's just bypass the usual introduction and dive straight into this. 167. That is the staggering, incredibly sobering number of lives tragically lost on July 6, 1988, out in the cold waters of the North Sea. When we talk about industrial regulations, it's so easy to get lost in the paperwork and the bureaucracy, right? But this number grounds us. Every single safety protocol we're going to discuss today is directly tied to the memory of these 167 individuals. Because of that massive loss of life, this tragedy officially stands as the deadliest offshore disaster we have on record. And we need to understand the scale here. The Piper Alpha wasn't some small operation. It was a massive oil platform, an absolute titan of industry. And in just a matter of hours, it was completely destroyed. This wasn't a ship slowly running aground. This was the absolute catastrophic obliteration of a colossal steel structure. To really grasp the magnitude of modern safety rules, we first have to wrap our heads around the sheer magnitude of this destruction.
So here's our roadmap for today's explainer. First up, the Piper Alpha disaster itself. Second, the fatal communication breakdowns that caused it. And third, how this event ended up rewriting global safety rules.
All right, let's step into section 1, the Piper Alpha disaster and the massive scale of the tragedy.
It's wild to think that this all started as a perfectly normal day before rapidly spiraling into disaster. During the day shift, routine maintenance begins. As part of that, a critical pressure safety valve is physically taken off a pipeline. Then evening rolls around, and the shift handover happens. The crew that removed the valve clocks out, and the night crew clocks in. Well, under the cover of night, an operational need suddenly comes up, and that night crew restarts that exact pipeline. But, of course, the valve is gone. Gas immediately leaks out, it quickly ignites, and it triggers a massive series of explosions. It's a terrifying domino effect.
Moving into section 2, fatal communication breakdowns. Let's look at the deeply human, mundane failures that triggered all of this.
Here is the absolutely crucial point. This technologically advanced platform wasn't taken down by a freak natural occurrence like a rogue wave. No, it was destroyed by a remarkably simple 3-step breakdown in everyday workplace communication. Step 1, the valve gets removed. Step 2, and this is the fatal flaw right here, improper shift handover communication. The day shift simply failed to tell the night shift that the pipeline was missing its safety valve, which leads directly to step 3. A totally unaware night crew mistakenly turns that pipeline back on. 3 mundane steps, unprecedented catastrophe. So what specifically failed? It's a mechanism called the Permit to Work System, or PTW. In these high-risk environments, you don't just walk up to a pipe with a wrench. You need a permit to work. It's a critical safety procedure designed to communicate and control hazardous maintenance. Think of it as the paper trail that literally screams, "Do not touch this equipment, it's dangerous right now." But on Piper Alpha, this vital safeguard completely failed. The paperwork just didn't effectively cross the gap between those two shifts. Now, the subsequent investigation didn't just point the finger at one person. It revealed a terrifying list of systemic failures across the whole operation. It wasn't just the PTBU system and the poor handover. The investigation found that overall safety management was severely lacking. Workers generally had no idea about the maintenance happening right next to them, and when the explosions actually started, the emergency systems were entirely inadequate, and rescue plans were fundamentally flawed. These compounding failures are exactly why evacuation became nearly impossible for the crew.
You really have to consider this. Whether you're out on a freezing North Sea rig or just sitting in a standard office building, poor communication is a massive vulnerability. This matters to all of us, because the core failure on Piper Alpha, a missed memo, a misunderstood handover, assuming someone else knew the status of a project, that's a universal human error. Sure, the stakes in an office might just be a lost client, but in process industries, that exact same mundane error costs lives. The mechanics of the failure are identical.
Finally, let's look at section 3, rewriting global safety rules, and how this tragedy fundamentally changed the world. This disaster forced a massive industry-wide paradigm shift. Pre-1988, the culture honestly allowed for pretty weak permit-to-work procedures and fragmented communication. But post-1988,
everything changed. The disaster led directly to incredibly stringent protocols. We're talking mandatory management of change, meaning you absolutely cannot alter a system without a rigorous review. We saw the birth of comprehensive risk assessments, and vitally, the adoption of the safety case regime, which essentially forces companies to legally prove their offshore operations are safe before they even start. And hey, this wasn't just some local fix for the North Sea. Piper Alpha spurred an entire alphabet soup of international standards that are protecting workers globally to this very day. It reinforced the ILO Convention C-155 for occupational health. It heavily influenced massive safety standards like ISO 45001 and IEC 6151. It even drove comprehensive guidance from the IOGP. When you step onto a job site today and see these acronyms, you are looking directly at the legacy of Piper Alpha.
It all boils down to this incredibly clear lesson. A properly managed permit-to-work system and effective communication can save hundreds of lives. Honestly, it's empowering to realize that modern safety regulations aren't just corporate red tape meant to slow everyone down. They are vital, life-saving systems. Every single checkbox on a risk assessment, every signature on a work permit, they are quite literally written in blood, designed to ensure that a tragedy like July 6, 1988 never happens again.
So as we wrap up this explainer, I really want you to ask yourself, what small communication gap exists in your workplace right now? Think about your own handovers, your emails, your assumptions. How can you close the gaps in your daily routines to keep the people around you safe? Because as history has shown us, there is absolutely no such thing as an insignificant miscommunication. Thank you so much for joining me to explore this critical piece of history. Stay curious, stay observant, and above all, stay safe.